Do you know that the present tense, the simple present tense, is the most common spoken tense in the English language? Whereas in written fiction, then the past simple is the most common one there. You usually tell stories in the past. We've talked about this tense before on this channel, but in this video I want to explain why, when, where and how to use it, particularly in relation to your CELT exams. Now, CELT exams are looking to see how well you can speak English and how you progress and improve over time. That's why they're called graded exams. Hello, I'm Ed Anguish from Speak English with Ed, where we help new ESL learners learn English. Today, I want to help you understand the present simple tense. So, let's jump straight in. The only way to learn is to talk. So, the present simple tense. What is a tense? A tense is a way of saying when the action in your verb takes place. Now, it could be in the past, it could be now at the present, or it could be sometime in the future. So how does it do this? How does a tense tell you when something took place? Well, it does it by modifying the verb. It takes a verb and it modifies it in a way that we understand. When we understand the rules, we understand what time base we're talking about, whether it's the past, the present or the future. How do you modify a verb? And which verbs do you modify? Well, to start with, we're talking in this video, we're talking about the present simple tense. Each tense has its own set of rules that you apply to form the tense, but we're going to stick with the present simple in this video. We'll cover the other ones in the next set of videos, but here we're just going to talk about the present simple tense. Let's look at the verb work. Now, the infinitive of this verb is to work. It's a phrase that you hear all the time. People always put to in front of a verb. To, whatever the verb is, to be, for instance. So to is the infinitive of the verb. And work is the base or the root of the verb. So when you look in a dictionary, the first word that you see is the base or the root verb. It's base and root verb, they're exactly the same thing, just called different names. One person will say a base verb and the other person will say a root verb, and people like me will say both of them. But it's the first word that you see when you look in a dictionary, and that is the base verb. So a dictionary will look something like this. This is the Collins online dictionary, which you can just type in Collins dictionary, and you will get this, and you'll see the word entered in its base form first. Why is it called a simple tense? Why is it present simple? Well, it's called simple because it uses the base verb only. It doesn't use any helping verbs, it doesn't use any auxiliary verbs or anything else to make the tense. It just uses the verb. So when do you use this tense? Well, you use it when you want to tell a general truth, something that's generally true. So I can say that I laugh when I hear a funny joke. I do. I'll laugh when I hear a funny joke. It's a general truth. Now, I don't always laugh when I hear a joke, but if I think it's funny, I'll have a good old laugh and it makes me feel good. You can also say English people have a dry sense of humour. No connection here really, it's just a general saying. English people have a dry sense of humour. It's a general truth. Not everybody, not every English person has a dry sense of humour. Lots of them do. Lots of us do. I have a dry sense of humour, but not everybody does. But it's a truth in general. It's generally true. We also talk about it for a recurring truth, something that happens and then it'll happen again and then it'll happen again. That's recurring. It happens now and then again and again. It keeps on happening. And an example here is that the sun rises in the east. Every morning the sun rises in the east. It's over there. East. The sun rises, and it will rise tomorrow, and it will rise there again the day after, and it'll recur every time, all the time. In the east, it will do it every day. So it's a recurring truth. The sun rises in the east. He buys a newspaper on his way to work. So you're talking about somebody, and he's saying he pops on his way to work every morning. He pops into the shop and he buys a newspaper. It's a recurring truth. So you use the present simple tense to tell that he does this. He buys a newspaper on his way to work every morning. Now you also use it for habits. Some of us have good habits and some of us have bad habits. I think I've got both. But a habit is when you do something, generally speaking, all the time without thinking about it. Like, say for instance, every time you make a cup of coffee, you put 2 spoonfuls of sugar in it and you stir it clockwise. It's a habit. It's something that you always do. You might always stroke your chin when you're thinking. You might go when you're thinking. It's a habit. So I have 2 spoonfuls of sugar in coffee. This could be a habit. Or you could say, I bite my fingernails. He bites his fingernails all the time. It's a habit. That would be a bad habit. But it's a habit. It's something that you do often without thinking, without realizing that you're doing it. It's just something that you do. So, routines and timetables. Well, a routine is similar to a habit, but it's not a habit. A routine is something that you do regularly, consciously, right? You do it consciously. A habit is when you do something without thinking, but a routine is when you do something consciously. So you could say, I walk the dog before breakfast. It's a routine I have. I get up in the morning, I probably have a shower, go downstairs, take the dog for a walk, come back, have breakfast before going to work and picking up the newspaper on the way to work. This could be all part of a routine. So you use this tense to talk about routines. And we also do it to talk about timetables. Now, we could say that the bus leaves at 8:30. Now, this is something that's set in stone. It is a timetable. The bus will leave at 8:30. If you're not there to catch it, you miss it. It's going to leave whether you're there or not. So this is predicted, and it often applies to things like transport, buses, planes, trains, things like classes at school or college. They have classes to a timetable when certain things happen. So timetables and routines. Also giving instructions. Now, if you want to tell somebody how to make the recipe for your favourite cake, you would say add the eggs to the milk and then whisk. So we're using this as a direction. It's an instruction, and we're using this in the present simple tense to tell somebody how to do something. Or if it's directions, where to go. So you could say go to the end of the street and turn left. Present simple, using the verb in its base form. Go to the end of the street and turn left. So this is all in present simple tense. These are times when you use it. When do you not use it? Is there a time when you don't use it? Well, yes, you do not use this tense when you're speaking about what you're doing right now. You don't use it for that at all. So, like for a current or ongoing activity, no, you don't use it for that. You don't use this tense to talk about something that's already happened in the past, something that happened this morning, 10 minutes ago, last week. You don't use it for that. You use a different tense for that, which we'll talk about in another video. Something in the future, as you can see, we've got a question mark at the end of something in the future. Now, this is because you can talk about the future if you're talking about a timetable. So maybe somebody says to you, when does the London bus leave? this afternoon? What time does the London bus leave this afternoon? And you look at your timetable and say it leaves at 3 o'clock. So you've got time in the future. You're talking about the future, but you're using the present simple tense. That's a time when you talk about the future, when you're talking about a timetable. So verbs, now they're subject dependent. So they need to change when they're used with certain nouns or pronouns. You can say, I work, that's good. You work, that's good. He work, she work, it work. No, they're not good. We don't say work with he, she and it. We say works. We add an S. You must add an S when the pronoun is third person singular, or you use a third person singular noun, like you say you use the person's name. If it's a noun, you use works. Now they're all singular. Now for plural, when it comes to plural, we say we work, because that's the plural first person work. We use you work, which is the plural second person, you, 2 or 3 people out there, work. And so what do we use when we come to third person plural? Well, we use work just the same, they work. So we only use works when it's singular third person, either a noun or a pronoun. So examples of present simple sentences. My brother works for the railway company as a train driver. My brother drives trains for a living. Now, both of these sentences are saying the same thing. They're both present simple. They're both using my brother as a noun, a third person noun, because he isn't here. He's not. I'm not talking to him. I'm talking to you about him. So he's third person. So we need to modify the verb to suit third person singular. After all that, how do we build the present simple tense? Subject plus verb. That's what you need, a subject, and then you need a verb. Okay, for both regular and irregular verbs, it's exactly the same. You need a subject and a verb for both regular and irregular verbs. And this tense does not use the verb to be. We don't use am, is, are, or anything like that in the present simple tense. We do not use it. You say I, and if we look at this sentence here for a start, we can see I work. This is just plain I, subject, work, verb. No am, is, or are in there at all. And I work for the local department store, first person. Now, how are we going to modify this if we use it for the third person? What's it going to be? It's going to be she works. We add an S. She works for the local department store. Exactly the same sentence. All we've done is change the subject from first person to third person. And we've had to modify the verb to go with it. So I work and she works. And these are general truths. This is talking the way we were talking about, way that you'd use it. This is a general truth, right? You're going to work. You may not work there forever. You may be working there at the moment, but not actually working right now, but you work there. That's what it's saying. So it's a general truth. Another one here. This is a recurring truth. The sun rises in the east. We've said it. The sun rises in the east and it's going to rise again tomorrow. So we use exactly the same. In this case, the sun is a noun, but it's a third person singular noun. So we have to put in the appropriate verb form, and that's got an S on the end of it. So now a little test for you. I want you to fill in the blanks to this sentence. Read it, see what it says, and fill in the blanks. Let's go through it. They both blank 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 their teeth before going to bed. They both blank 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 their teeth before going to bed. Now, what form of verb, what verb form needs to be put into this sentence? The infinitive of the verb is to brush. To brush. So what verb form are you going to put in there? I'll give you 3 seconds on this. Okay, did you get it? Well, it's just brush. We don't put brushes because they both is excuse me, both is a plural pronoun, so we don't add an s on there. They both brush their teeth before going to bed. Great stuff. Now, I hope that you understood that and what it all means. So if there's anything that you're not sure about, then please leave a comment below the video and ask your questions in there, and I will answer you as soon as I possibly can. Tenses are really important for your CELT exams, and you need to pay real attention when we come to speaking about future tenses, because future tenses are specified to be tested and looked for during the B1 exam. Next time, we're going to be talking about the past simple tense, so make sure that you've subscribed and that you've rung the bell to let YouTube know that you want to be told when we release the video. In the meantime, if you haven't seen the video to this series, then click this video next and watch it now. So until next time, stay safe, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.